Now, Mark, emerging markets, back to being the darlings of investors.
Finally.
After quite a wait, up about 30%. What's behind this rally? Is it sustainable going into 2018?
It is sustainable because we had 3 years of really bad performance against the U.S. market. Now with the U.S. market leveling off, still doing well, but leveling off, emerging markets are back because people realize that's where the growth is. So I expect we're going to see at least 20% more growth in emerging markets going forward because we haven't surpassed the 2007 peak, So that's got to happen. There's no question about mine.
So not too late to get in. And what would make you sit up? What risk do you see?
There are two big risks that we see from a macro global point of view. Of course, North Korea. I believe the U.S. is going to take some action, maybe shooting down a missile or whatever. That's a big risk. The other risk is the internet, the interruption of the internet and the whole global internet community. Because you have these hackers who are going into systems. And with more and more cloud services being offered, with the whole Bitcoin thing and with these interlinking of systems, the possibility of a hacker disrupting the entire system on a global basis is there. And this is something that we have to look at very carefully.
I'll pick up on Bitcoin slightly later, but in terms of markets that you would bet on, if I were to get you to name 3 markets to put your money into, what would they be?
China, of course, because China continues to open up and there's more opportunity there. India would be next, because these are 2 big liquid possibilities going forward. Among the smaller markets, I'd probably say Vietnam, because that's where, again, a big change takes place. It's a small market, it's a frontier market, but it's exciting.
You talk about China. China has managed to rein in financial risks without compromising growth at this point in time. With Xi Jinping consolidating his power, do you expect the fallout to be greater?
I think he's making very, very big changes in China, and it's having a beneficial effect. One of the reasons why the growth is continuing in China is because of the crackdown on corruption. Because just remember, all the money that's been wasted in corrupt practices, slowing down systems, not enabling people to do the business they want to do, this is going to have a big impact. And one of the reasons why China continues to grow.
I want to touch on the commodity rally. Where do you see it going? How much more legs?
Well, one of my bets is commodities. I believe going forward it's time to get back into commodities. We've already seen pretty big jumps from the bottom.
But is it a China story?
No, it's not a China story. It's a global story. Because don't forget, China is just one part of the consumption picture. You have India coming in, you have the other big emerging markets coming in to consume more and more commodities. And look, the U.S., the largest economy of the world, is now growing at 3%. So, this commodity story is going to be with us for quite some time.
Oil?
Oil is up 90% from the absolute bottom. I'm not saying it's going to continue up, but you only need one little event to upset the whole balance in the oil market.
Now, Mark, Bitcoin has been crazy. It's been a crazy ride. $10,000, who would have thought? Yeah. But some are betting that it could go up even more. I mean, what's your take on it?
Well, I always tell people Bitcoin is giving tulips a bad name. And the bottom line is that it's a religion. You have to believe in it or not. If you believe in it, you will buy it, and you'll save it, and you'll think that it's going up. But if you really did some close examination, you have to realize it's not a currency. It's a medium of exchange. And there's a real requirement for it, because as the U.S. Treasury continues to crack down on illicit transfers of money, you're going to get all these people around the world who want to hide their transfers, searching for a method of doing so, and Bitcoin seems to be the way they're doing it.
From your own perspective, is it a bubble brewing, and is it a bubble that's about to burst?
Of course. I mean, when you see prices going up at the rate they've been going up, it is a bubble, but bubbles can last for a long time. I mean, you can make a lot of money with these bubbles.
Hazard a guess for us. How long do you think this bubble will go on for?
I think it's going to continue. There'll be corrections along the way. You know, it goes to 10,000, maybe down to 6, then goes to 12, so forth. It can last for another year or so. I mean, this is one of the amazing things that very often you look at something like this and you think, oh, it's a bubble, it's going to burst, but then it lasts and lasts and lasts. It's only when people are euphoric. You know, markets end on euphoria. And that hasn't really happened yet, because the mere fact that we're discussing the problems and maybe the risks means that we're not euphoric yet.
Mark, what do you think is the biggest tech investment in 2018?
Biggest tech investment? I would say anything related to the payment system, going back to Bitcoin, blockchain, and all the rest of that. There's going to be a continuing revolution in payments. And I would say that's going to be the big investment going forward. Not only by isolated tech companies, but by banks and by other companies in the financial sector.
Just one final question. The biggest risk for 2018?
Biggest risk, I would say, would be the interruption of the internet. In other words, you have some major fault as a result of hacking, as a result of some infection in the internet system.